Hello. Today we are doing the opposite of what we did yesterday. We are working on subtracting expressions. This gets a little bit more complicated because we have to use the distributive property, but I think if you take your time and stay organized, your life will still be very easy. Two simple goals. We're still combining like terms. And goal number two, distribute a negative sign within a term. And this takes a little bit of organization, but once you see it done a few times, it should not be too difficult. So, going to scroll down. Of course, feel free to pause whenever you need to. I've been trying to make the notes a little bit shorter for you. All right. So, we are going to start with a term, but we're going to notice that it is negative. So we have negative, and then within parentheses, 3x minus 5y plus 7. And this term is just by itself, so it doesn't look too intimidating. But when we have to combine it, it gets a little tricky. So we are going to need to think of everything inside of parentheses as negative because the negative symbol represents everything in the parentheses. So one way that might help for you to think about it is you have a -1 of this term, which is 3x minus 5y plus 7. Because anything that's out there, there's just one of them. If it doesn't have a number besides 1, that just means there's one of them. So there is one term, and it happens to be negative. So what we can do is we can get rid of this -1 by multiplying everything within the parentheses by -1. And inside the parentheses, we'll now have a -3x, a positive 5y, and a -7. So now we have a positive version or a +1 of the term. Except especially when it's a positive, we won't end up putting that 1. Standing alone, I'm assuming that was a little bit confusing, but when we get to these few example problems, I'm hoping it makes more sense. So here is one of the very basic examples. We have two terms that we're adding together, and we have a -4x minus 5 minus 2x plus 9. So it would be nice if we could just combine -5 and +9 and -4x and 2x, but that's just not the case because our term is negative. So we're going to want to rewrite this. Instead of minus 2x plus 9, you're going to want to think of it as -4x minus 5, so the first term stays the same, plus -1 times 2x plus 9. Because when we're combining things, we can throw in our addition sign, and there is a -1 amount of this term. So we're going to have to multiply the -1 by everything inside of the parentheses. So now we have -4x minus 5 plus, and then inside parentheses, -2x minus 9. There are quicker ways to do this that I'll be able to show, but for those of you who are confused on why we're turning things negative and why everything changes in the parentheses, this might be the most useful. So now we're just adding our terms, so we can combine our -4x and our -2x to get -6x. And negative 5 plus negative 9 gives us a negative 14. All right. Again, we have a negative term. Our first term, the 5y plus 11, that's just going to stay the same. So that is a positive term. And we are multiplying our negative 1 by everything inside the parentheses. So that, excuse me, that's going to leave us with a negative 3y and a positive 4. So you can just think of that as switching the sign of everything inside that parentheses. And because we're combining things, you can put a plus sign in to help you, because combining means to add. So now we have 5y and a negative 3y, which is positive 2y, and then 11 plus 4 is positive 15. So you can definitely make your steps quicker than what I have been doing, especially in example 1, but it's so easy to make a mistake with positives and negatives if you're trying to do everything in your head. So if you take the time to write an extra step and stay organized, then come quiz day, you're going to have a lot smaller chance of making a mistake. Okay, last example, because your assignment's a little longer than usual. Our first term is positive, and our third term is positive because we have a plus sign. So those are going to stay exactly the same. Negative 2x plus 4y and 6x minus 5. The term that's going to change is going to be this one that's negative. So everything that's positive inside the parentheses is going to turn into a negative. So negative 5y minus 8. And now that we have our positive terms, we're going to combine our like terms. And I should have been switching colors, but I will now. So negative 2x and positive 6x gives us 4x. We have 4y and a negative 5y. That's a negative 1y. And negative 8 and negative 5 combine to a negative 13. Hope these examples helped. Good luck on your assignment. Let me know if you need help.